What's up, all? Welcome back to Born to Create. So, for you guys who don't know, Born to Create is a simple concept. If who or which one of you doesn't exist, you go out there and create the life that you want to create. So today I have a special guest, Mrs. Lucia Morfin. So I've known Lucia for a while through her husband, and we've shared some business. We've shared some personal things. Our kids went to the same school, so we shared a lot. And I wanted to bring Lucia on and talk about the mortgage industry, the housing market. It seems like where we are in this pandemic. This because people have questions, right? People have questions, so I wanted to bring her on and just to share some insight because I have questions myself. So it'll be super informative. So how are you today?
I'm doing well, Anthony. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing, and thanks again for taking the time. I know with the kids and the husband and the business, it's busy for you. So
no problem. My pleasure.
Your time. So let's hop right into it. So talk to me about the mortgage industry. How long have you been in there? How did you get started? How did you come across being?
Okay, so I'll actually start a little bit in the past to kind of tell you how I got into this and how long I've been doing it. So I thought I would be a math teacher. Growing up, I thought I'd be a teacher. And it's funny, my son, my 9-year-old just asked me, what did you want to do when you were my age? And I always remember wanting to be a math teacher. I was very shy. I'm definitely not shy anymore, but I was very shy. And I remember as I grew up, I thought, well, I love math and I'd like to be a teacher, but I'm too shy. I have to get in front of people and talk to them, even if they're, children. It made me nervous. So then I switched. When I went to college, I switched to being an accountant. I figured, okay, if you're an accountant, you don't have to be in front of people. There's still numbers involved, right? So I pursued that track. After going through some of the core classes, I switched again.
Oh, wow.
To business administration. So I knew, I liked numbers. I thought it'd be cool to teach. And as I went through it, I decided to switch to business management with a concentration in management, right? So business administration. And then I went to corporate America, did the corporate jobs, and then I got into inside and outside sales jobs. So that's really where I started to, learn to talk to people in large groups and, not feel scared or nervous about it. I mean, everybody does still when they talk in front of people, but it really helped me conquer my fears. Well, I had the best job I had ever had in my career working for Polycom, and it was a corporate job. I worked from home half of the time. Actually, I only went to work twice a week in our Irvine office. And that was when we just had Diego, which he's 9 now. And then we had Cruz. And then guess what they were doing? They were restructuring. They were making changes. They said, well, you can move to Colorado where we're going to centralize our location or take a severance package. And it's funny, I had just gotten a raise, like a huge one that you normally don't get. My boss really appreciated me and whatnot. And we were actually about to buy a rental property. And that layoff happened. So like all kinds of things happened. So Cruz was a baby. We just had him. And so that kind of changed everything. So Tony and I were thinking, okay, well, what now? And I was so accustomed to working from home with having small children. I thought, well, what can I do? What can we figure out where we don't have to answer to the man, right? We can kind of do our own thing. I come from a background where my parents, they were entrepreneurs. My dad was a musician, but he also owned a music store. My mom was a seamstress and employed a bunch of people at her mini factory.
Wow.
And so all growing up.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, all growing up. My parents used to make lingerie for Fredericks of Hollywood. Yes, they did.
Wow.
They did. Okay. So as a kid, I would help them and I kind of, did the process and whatnot. So I saw growing up, them, working for themselves. I mean, was it easy all the time? Absolutely not. Did they struggle sometimes? Absolutely. There were 6 of us. There's a lot of kids. I'm the youngest of 6. So just growing up, I kind of had that entrepreneurial spirit. So even in like high school, I would sew a little bit. I'd sell scrunchies to the girls, or I'd do little crafty things and sell pens with your names on it. So I always made stuff and I always sold stuff. To this day, I still make stuff and sell stuff.
Let me pause
crazy.
For 1 second. So you sold scrunchies as a child. So I had Tony on the podcast before. So you weren't here we're made for each other because you showed scrunchies and he sold strawberries, right?
That's right. That's right.
We're a match made.
So we both have it, which is funny because a lot of couples tell me, man, I don't know if I could work with my husband. I don't know if we can do that all day. But Tony and I have worked together forever, since even before we were married. We've launched some startups together. He's obviously a big part of the mortgage business as well. I may be the lone originator on paper, but he's a big influence as far as marketing, which is how you get your business, right? You got to market in order to get business. anyhow, so I've always had the entrepreneurial spirit. And when my job was, basically either lay me off or having me move, we thought, gosh, we've got these small kids. We're very used to being around for them, right? So what can we do? And at that point, I've always loved the real estate industry, right? I've always loved looking at houses and that kind of thing. And that interests me. I've been a numbers person for a very long time. And Tony had a friend that was a broker. And talked to him and said, hey, why don't you guys get your real estate license? Maybe that's something that'll be interesting to you. So actually at the time we were testing, I was pregnant with Cruz.
Okay.
Now I'm remembering, because actually when I was laid off, it was a whole thing because I was pregnant at the time. And we both took the real estate exam together. We both passed it the first time, which a lot of times people don't. It's a very hard, difficult test, is from what from what a lot of people say. And sometimes people just get test anxiety. But we took the tests. And we both passed, and then I continued on from there and took the licensings to be a loan officer.
Right, okay.
And there was a couple more tests after that. And then I thought, okay, so now we've got this going on. How do we build the business, right? And like any other business, you've got to figure out, you start with your friends and family, let everybody know what you're doing. And guess what? Even though I was licensed, I still had to learn the business, right? I still learned what the heck I was doing. I may have taken a test and memorized all kinds of amazing things.
Right.
But until you actually, put it to work, it doesn't quite sit yet. So I worked through it with the broker, and he had one person working for it. It was only broker and the one loan officer. And she was super busy, been doing it for 10 plus years. So she was training me kind of on the side. So it was a whole process of learning. And fast forward to now, it's been, I think it's 8 years this year. Yeah, because Cruz is going to be 8 this year.
Okay.
So yeah, so basically I'll be licensed at a total of 8 years come this December.
Wow.
And I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Why do you love it? Like, why?
Well, let me tell you why. Okay, so I mentioned that I wanted to be a teacher, right? I was nervous about being in front of people, and I thought, oh, I love math. There was a whole accounting thing that sprinkled in. And I love the real estate type of industry. Well, now I find myself, gosh, I may not be a teacher at school, but I find myself educating my clients all the time about finance, about numbers, which I love, right? So I'm teaching about that, teaching about credit is important. I actually used to work as a collection supervisor at Sears Credit. So while I was in college, that was my job. So I have a real big, strong, idea of credit history and good credit. And so I'm able to teach people about that. So even though I'm not a traditional teacher with my own job, I do help people on a regular basis. And I think that's one of the reasons why people trust me, and I get a lot of referral business at this point, right? I've done it enough years. We've got a nice core group of clients who say, you know what, Lucia taught me a lot through the process. Yeah. As much as I don't understand what she does with all these numbers all the time, she made sure that I understood what was happening on the biggest purchase or refinance of my life, right? Because people save the most money there. And that's a place where you really need to know where all the fees are, where it all lies. Yeah. So it's kind of funny. I look back and I think, oh, I guess it kind of worked out that way. Yeah. So, I love people. I love talking to people. Educating people. I'm still learning through the process, especially right now. You asked me to talk about the mortgage industry and what it is today. And it's ever changing. It's evolving, just like, our economy's up and down, and, a lot of things happening in the world today.
So first, you love people. Mm-hmm. You want to be a teacher, and then you love numbers. Yeah. So you're doing that.
Exactly.
Right? Doing all of that.
I created my own job with all the things I wanted.
Create your own job, and that's just simply amazing.
And even though I may not be a teacher, I'm the PTA president. Well, yes, but officially, I'm the PTA president at our kids' school, so I'm very close to a lot of teachers, and I'm in front of all the kids on a regular basis, and I'm not scared about it anymore.
Yeah, I've heard the stories about, because my mom is Diego's teacher, right?
Yes,
so, I have stories about how you're involved, you're teaching, and also that Diego's a genius. he's a
smart kid.
He's a smart kid. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So now let's you got the entrepreneur spirit from your parents, watching them work, and you grew up. So do you think that you were actually you were born into it, but is it DNA, or did you have to learn how to be an entrepreneur?
Well, I think a big part of it is your interest in it, right? So I said before, I'm one of 6 kids. Okay, out of those 6, so I look back and go, okay, out of those 6 kids, which of us has that spirit, right? So 3 of us, I noticed, like one, I have a brother who actually started a company and he sold it. Okay. So he was entrepreneurial for sure. My other brother had a little side business where he liked to do stuff and kind of make money. And then there's myself. So like, it was like half of us absolutely did something to make money. They kind of saw something, created it and said, what can I do? And they did do something about it. So I think it definitely has to be an interest, for sure. And also, I think when you're an entrepreneur, you have to not be scared of risk, right? So when I left my best job I ever had, the highest job I ever had, chose not to move and say, okay, we'll figure something out, to go from, a good salary to now, what are we going to do? Right?
Yeah.
But guess what? If you put your mind to something, and things take time. So I tell people whenever they ask me about getting into the mortgage industry, I paint the picture. I say, hey, year 1, 2, and 3, like it was all increasing year after year, which is how you want it to be, right? If you're going to be successful, that's what you need to make it. So the first couple of years, it was like training, figuring it out, letting people know what I'm doing, so it's a process. So you've got to have that, that little bit that is willing to take risks in you, right? Because so many people are dirty about it.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of risk you got to take being an entrepreneur, and it's funny to me. Well, I guess it's funny, but most people see the finished product, right? They see the result of the entrepreneurship. They see the success, but see the lean years. The years where you were studying, when you were training. Hey, may not have as much money as you have now, right? And it's even more challenging when the husband and wife are entrepreneurs, right? Because there's no guaranteed income there, right? You guys both out hustling every single day, and at times it can get challenging. At times it can get stressful, right? So with you guys both being entrepreneurs, even in early years, how did you guys manage that?
It's a great question, and I have to say that I always go back to this. When you have a regular job that you go to and you have a paycheck and you come home, there are very few jobs that are super secure, right? Maybe you've got a government job, or certain jobs where you're good, your retirement is probably good, right? Okay, every other job is not that way. Okay? But the perception is that you've got a job, you're good, until that one day when your boss goes, oh my gosh, and then you're like, oh my God, it came out of nowhere. How did that happen? Okay. All right. So I take that and I go, hey, as much as we may not always know for sure this is what it is, we have to remember that nothing is for sure. So why live with that fear? Instead, let's make a plan. We're smart people. We can figure it out, right? We're hard workers. Make a plan and follow that plan. So at least now, Tony, have it, and it's our control. No one else is controlling it.
To that.
So guess what? We always kind of go back to, okay, what happens if we don't have loans? What happens if the world, what happens if we can't, right? And I say, you know what, smart enough people, we will figure it out. I'm not going to live worried about it. We live where we want to take on vacation every year. We finally started every year. We've gone on a vacation. We've been able to take my dad with us a couple of times. But we didn't do that 9 years ago. We didn't do, we did a small local, but it wasn't like, no, this is what we want to do. So I think it's a mindset, right? It's definitely not being scared of it. And that's where I come back to being entrepreneurial. It's a very different mindset. We'll look at our friends and go, okay, these guys understand us. These other ones think we're crazy. You know what I mean? But then it's like, hold on a second. Why? They have no right to think we're crazy because we're in a better situation than they are. So how do you think?
That's true.
So I think it's just a mindset.
Yeah, it's definitely mindset. And really also, you mentioned worry, right? Because people who have 7-figure jobs, they actually worry. So they worry, and it's a part of what you're doing. It's mindset. So a no worry mentality, right? You're just like, okay, I'm going to figure it out. Figure it out as a family. Where did that mindset come from? I mean, people who are millionaires worry. Where did that worry mindset come from?
I think it's probably because I saw my parents really struggle a lot, but we all survived, right? We made it. We were so hungry. Like, were there times where things were late? Bills were late? Absolutely. Even as a college student, I was paying my parents' mortgage. Like, and it didn't faze me because I was a hard worker, and it's what you do, to make sure the bills get paid.
Yeah.
And maybe too, when I got into being in collections, I saw so many people not understanding credit work, not understanding what borrowing meant, you had to pay it back, not, all of those things I saw and made me go, okay, I don't want to worry about those things, right? Because I see what it do, right? When you worry, let me give you an example. If somebody doesn't have money to pay their water bill, okay, and the other person also doesn't have money to pay their water bill, okay, but this person is just 100% all the time concentrating on, oh my God, what am I going to do? And this person says, you know what? We will figure it out. We will survive. Let's look at our options we can do. Okay, imagine the stress level of this guy versus this guy. Same exact problem, okay? But this person over here is stressing. And guess what happens when you stress? Everything goes down. The people around you, how you are with your kids, your fuse is shorter, all those things happen. So now if you choose, right, because we all have a choice. Most people don't decide to choose, by the way. They let their emotions go, right? We tell our kids now, okay, you need to control your emotions. Remember that movie? What's that movie with all the emotions and the kids? They talked about their emotions. I forget what it's called.
Trolls?
Which one?
Was it Trolls?
No. There's another one about their emotions, and each one character has a different emotion.
I'm not sure.
I can't remember. Yeah. But anyhow, we always talk about controlling your emotions, because guess what? Only you can control that. You can't control everybody else.
And blame
you. Control your own. Yeah. And I think we all kind of learn that. It's not just, you need to relax, buddy. Don't worry about it. That doesn't fix things. It's about you going, hold on a second, I have a choice. And to feel comfortable with not worrying about it, by the way, because it's very natural. I think your body automatically goes, oh my gosh. And then you turn into this mode of, what am I going to do?
Right. And it even goes past that. Because I tell people all the time is that if you worry about something, is that going to change the situation? Like, is that water bill going to get it paid?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not. And being in the times that we're in now, worrying weakens your immune system. More to getting disease and being sick. So worrying has so many bad ramifications. It's crazy.
Well, that's what mental health is the most important, right? Because it does control a lot of your body. If you feel bad up there, then naturally it's gonna seep into other areas of your body. Yeah,
cool. Well, I know we got into a lot of mindset stuff. Yes. Love mindset stuff, but I want to hop into the mortgage and real estate stuff. Okay, so talk to me about the current mortgage situation and as far as the housing market. I mean, I'm seeing so many different reports. So we're right now as far as mortgage in this pandemic.
Okay, so let me tell you in my point of view, because like you just said, you're gonna Google something and you're gonna get somebody that says this, somebody that says that, and guess what? They don't know. That's why. That's why they can they can offer an opinion. And that's what it's going to be until things happen and you see it live. Then we'll know who was right, I guess, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So let's first talk about. Obviously, I do mortgages, but I actually just talked to a realtor friend of mine before we got on the call, just to try and get an idea of what she's seeing, at least in the Inland Empire. And she says, you know what? Things are getting better than they were a month ago. She said, people are still selling, people are still buying. She said, I don't see prices going down. Now, she says, I do get this. A lot of clients are going, I'm going to wait until things go down. And in her opinion, she's like, well, they're going to be waiting a long time. I'm not seeing that they're going down.
Right.
Okay. And I do too. I have clients that go, oh, I may be thinking of selling and buying another, but I'm going to wait until the prices go down. Yeah. Well, if the prices go down, the value of your house, which means, you're losing money on yours too. So, so it's all a matter of what people think, right? Now, as far as interest rates go, they're lowest they had in years a couple of months ago. Okay, so let me kind of walk you through what's happened briefly. So, I was so busy, the business that I ran the last 8 years, 2 months ago. Like, oh my gosh, I was working at night really late, and I know it's like, get all done and have a life too, right? But I was like, you know what, rates are amazing. We did our own loan because it was like, oh yes, let's do it. And then one day, I forget the date. I'm trying to forget that date of what happened that day. So I literally had a client at 9 a.m. and I talked to her, was pricing out her 15-year loan, at a rate that I have. By noon, I was pricing out a couple other scenarios for her. And by noon, I'm like, what happened? All of a sudden, the rate I talked to her about 9 a.m. was gone and was literally a 0.5%.
Wow.
Wait, what? I've never seen that in 8 years. Okay.
Wow.
I said, well, what is going on? So I started doing research, and I work for a broker with over 50 lenders, by the way. I don't just work for one bank.
Yeah.
So I'm able to kind of shop different scenarios and whatnot. So I started looking at what's going on, what's happening. Okay. So what happened is the lenders were so busy. They had so much business, they could not keep with the demand. So one of the ways to control demand is what? Raise the rates to slow it down.
Yeah.
Then people go, oh, if it's higher, forget it. I'm going to wait. Right? So, which is interesting, right? The more business you have, the more you want, right? As any business.
Yeah.
But what happens if you can't come through with the product you're selling or the service you're selling? What's the point?
During the pandemic, this is recent, right? This
is in the last month and a half. Yeah. So lenders across the board said, oh, they're going up. Okay. So I thought, okay, they went up. They were still a terrible rate.
Yeah.
But mind you, all the clients that I had, all of a sudden, it wasn't that beneficial to refi. 0.5% is a big deal. Okay. Okay. So then about a week after that is when the Fed announced 0% interest. And then everybody calling me, even on Sunday night, and they said, hey, what is the fee for my mortgage? Nothing. So people think, oh, right? Well, that was for short-term lending. Mortgages are not short-term. They're 30 years or whatever.
Are you serious?
Yes. So people confuse that. You look up articles and it'll tell you. So even though the government, in an emergency state, they offer 0%, not to us, by the way, to the banks. Then the banks do what they do, and then they offer it to people. But if they're getting it 0, we're going to get it 0.
Just here. So 0% is not us consumers.
No.
It's from the Federal Reserve to the bank.
Correct.
The bank gives us loan, and then they give us the
1%. They got to put the margin in. Exactly.
Wow.
Which, guess what? If they're getting it for nothing, then our rate will be better than what it was before, which is very true, by the way. Okay. However, it has nothing to do with mortgages. Okay. Mortgages are long-term lending, not short-term lending. That 0% was extended to banks in an emergency situation. We have a pandemic going on. People need money. They need to borrow money cheap. Okay. So that's what that was for. So I fielded all those calls that whole week, and literally copying and pasting the same thing, that I did the first time, and have conversations with people so they can understand. So that's what's important too, by the way, to have a loan officer. Like, even if you're not refinancing that mine, you should have someone that can let you know what's going on. Without you trying to decipher the articles that sometimes are very difficult to understand. Okay. So that's what happened. Rates were still up. So was I still working? Yes. What we were doing was, okay, all those clients that wanted to refinance, we still submitted their loans and just waited to lock the rate. Okay. So, which means that once it comes back down, which we hope it comes back down, maybe not to exactly what it was, but better. Okay. So that's what I did. So in the last several weeks, guess what's happened? Rates have started coming back down a little bit from what they raised them, right? And I've been able to locking clients again. Okay. Which is a good thing. So what that tells me is, guess what? The lenders caught up with all the business they had, and they need more business. Okay. Because realistically, the mortgage industry or the mortgage lenders want to follow what the Fed says, but they also have a right to do what they need to do for their business. They don't get dictated by the government. This is what you have to do. Which people think that. They go, oh, the Fed didn't do this. And that means the lenders are going to do it. So in fact, they didn't do that. They had to make sure that they could do good on what rates they had. And what's the point of locking a rate? 60 days, by the way. That's how long it's taking. 45 to 60 days taking to close a refi. Purchases you can still do in 30 days. But what's the point of them locking something in 60 days and they never got to it? I've literally, it's taken a month to get an approval on some of these, which is crazy to get an approval. And then from there, you still have a whole other process. So the nice thing is I have seen in a month and a half a little bit more normalcy, right? Now, I also seen banks picking and choosing what types of clients they're willing to take on, because they have every right to go, I'm not going to do it unless you're a 700 FICO or above, which I've done loans at a 500 FICO, right, with some lenders. But a lot of lenders don't want to take on something that's high risk right now. This is too unknown. You can't blame them, but it's also very for the ones that, gosh, you're still working, they're hard workers, maybe they don't have the best credit, but they're still paying their bills, right? So again, that's the benefit I have of having 50 lenders where this bank won't do it, but I bet you this one will. So that's the nice thing about not going directly to a bank.
Okay.
You know? So it's gotten better.
Yeah. So I definitely want to go entry credit, but first I want to ask you, so right now, as far as I guess we're going into a recession, where we are as far as mortgage and housing based on where we are back in 2000, do you think it's the same, it's different, or we're not at that deep? Like,
well, no, we're not. So as far as lending goes, the consensus is that rates will continue to stay low. There's no thought that they can't, right? People need to be able to have more free money available to spend in the economy. In a big way, money is in your mortgage. So if people are able to refinance and save money, they can spend it elsewhere. So I think the consensus is, from what I've seen, if anything, I've seen some articles, but again, we don't know until we know, but that in 2021, rates can go lower. I saw one that could go under 3%,
wow.
So
is that for refi or purchase money?
Well, it's the same. So by the way, if you buy, refi, or purchase, the rates are the same. Okay. It's just what differentiates rates is your credit score, your equity, all that good stuff. So I think that I feel very confident and comfortable right now that it's still really good refinance. I've got a client that's at 6.something% right now, which is crazy. Which he's had an original loan from like 9 years ago. That it just was some crazy loan. So now we're putting him into under 4%. We're still taking a ton of money, So there's still definitely situations where people need to refi, and people need to pay more attention to their mortgage. And if they don't understand it, they need to have somebody like that can help decipher it, And people need to shop for rates, because I've seen lenders, like literally these clients have sent me their good faith estimate, and my rate, same rate as theirs. Theirs is $6,000 cost. Mine is nothing, which is crazy. Like the same loan, but people don't know, right? So it's important to people check 2 lenders, and I'm happy to review people's and go, if that's a better deal than what I can give you, I'm going to tell you. But I think that's me. I'm honest with people.
Yeah, is that because I've heard a lot of, I guess, brokers, loan officers put like points on
well, yeah, so it's referred to as points, yes, and that's when you pay for a rate, right? But they can charge what they want, right? If a lender does this at this rate, they can charge what they want for it. That's why if you're gonna go to one car dealership, you're gonna go to the other one, right? Why don't you do that with your mortgage, which costs 20 times as much?
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, but people don't do that, and they should. And I've got, and my pricing is really, really strong, which is good because I have a lot of lenders, and I get paid the same, by the way, if I go with this lender or that lender. Gotcha. I choose to shop for my client because guess what? They trust me, and people don't need to overspend for something that is identical. Yeah.
That's why you're getting orders, because your clients see that and they feel that, and they do. You take care of their people.
Yeah, and what the cool thing is, they not only trust me on that, but there's no lie. They see what they had before and what they have now. They're like, oh my God, it's not me just going, oh, my price is better. It's proven, which is nice.
Right. Definitely. You mentioned that you work with a client that had a 500 FICO score and upwards, and now lenders are not taking a lot of loans, right? So,
yeah, there's certain, and that's going to be temporary. I haven't had to do one in the last couple of months. That's a low FICO like that. It's been a while, and those are non-traditionals, by the way. Those are high interest rate loans. You've got to have plenty of equity. You've got to have a good, enough income for your debt to income to be where you need. So it's harder to qualify, because it's higher risk. But not to say that things are going to change at this point. That part will go to normalize, where all kinds of financing.
Now, ladies, my question is that if someone that has, because even when it goes back to normal, the lower credit score you have, the more you're paying for a loan, right? Yes. So how does someone with a lower FICO score, what are some steps they can take to get their credit going? I mean, is there something you can do?
Absolutely. Here's what I always tell people about credit. Listen, and this is how I explain it to my kids. A credit report is just like your report card in school. You turn in your stuff, you're going to get a good grade. You don't turn in your stuff, they're going to mark you down, right? So that's how I explain it to my kids. I said, you know what? They just want to make sure you're being responsible, just like you guys at school. Okay. So the nice thing about credit is that there's nowhere to go but up if you make the right changes. So when you are in a position to do something about it, right? You've got some money saved up, or you're able to kind of stabilize what you had going on, we can get it up, right? Which means that they're not going to penalize you for your rest of your life because you did something however long ago. Yeah. So I do credit repair. Every situation is different. When I say credit repair, I always make recommendations. Okay, what can we do? What can we start with? The first thing is pull your credit report, people. People are scared, by the way. They're scared to see the reality. And, you know, I say, don't be scared because you take it. There's nowhere to go but up. Let's figure out what we can do. And I've done this a million times with clients. You know? And I love seeing, yes, but you did it, and look at your score slowly going up. Okay. So obviously people have to be in a place where they're ready to do it. Okay. But even if they're not, they should know. Okay. And I'll tell you what I've learned in the last year as far as credit goes. A lot of people think, oh, it'll drop off my credit report after 7 years. I didn't pay that Sears card. I didn't pay this. I didn't pay that. Right? Okay. Let me tell you what's going on, sir. It's crazy. Again. So I had a client who had a Home Depot card. He didn't pay it. Things happen. Life happened. Things happen. I get it. Right? Couldn't pay it. Not like you want to, but things happen at that time. Once it's years old, you kind of think, it's fine. They already charged it off. Right? In my credit report. Okay. He got some letters regarding it, right? Years. I think it was like 8 years ago. And he ignored the letter. It's old. I'm not even going to, right? Ignored them. Tell me why they didn't freeze his business account. Oh my gosh. He called me going, what? And I said, hold on. Yes.
Home Depot.
They have every legal right. They have every legal right to freeze your bank account to recoup the funds that you owe them. Okay. Wow. So this has happened to 2 of my clients in the last year. I said, oh my gosh. So what's happening is that debt doesn't, there's statute of limitations on the debt. Okay? However, it depends if that company decides to sell their debt to a collection agency, they can. Some might not. Okay? So I can't tell you that it's going to be like this for everybody, but I will say that old debt can come back to haunt you 8 years later. So I always tell people, keep that in mind. They think stuff is old. And then at some point you own a home, let's say you didn't own a home before. And if they find that, you know, there's ways for them to put liens on your, if they decide to take action, right? Not all of them are going to take action. But if they decide to take action, and in his case, he's lucky, his was like $800. It wasn't like a ton of money, but enough to go, what? He wanted to take his money out, but what? We ended up doing like he made an arrangement that, okay, only take out this and that, you know, to pay it back. Yeah. So that's very scary. Wow. Because I mean, this past can continue to haunt them. You know what I mean? So I also have somebody that I refer credit repair to, where that's all she does. She's much more versed than I am. In the process of a loan, I'm able to help people's scores go up, you know, 20 or 30 points if need be on an emergency level. But long-term planning, it's always good to stick with a professional that can kind of walk you through it, you know? So again, with credit, it can all be fixed. It takes time. It takes money, right? Obviously, you owe money. So it takes time and money and the proper planning. And sometimes it's about settling on the check. It's like calling companies, are you willing to take this instead of this and get some money? Yeah. But then it's already been in collections anyway, so now it's just settled. And it's better to just be done with it. Those do not
That's good information. Yeah, because I thought after like 17 years it was gone and it was done with. But
let me tell you, I had a client that had a boat tax. Okay, like a tax on a car. It was a tax on a boat that he bought in 1987. It showed up as a lien on a home that he owned way later. So I was like, what is this? They're like, I don't know what that is. We did a little investigating and they're like, oh my gosh. It was like, you know, whatever, $100 back then, turned into like 400 something. They were charging interest for like 20 something years. So see what I mean? Like little things like that will attach to your home. It was a boat tax and it was attached to his home.
You so a lot out there.
Yeah, I'm not trying to scare people, but I'm just saying.
It's education. I mean, like for me, I'm thinking that it's that, right? So it's really education in me, and that's just what you do. And,
it really is.
Yeah,
and you know, go ahead.
No, I was saying if people can see that, out there are a lot of sharks out there. A lot of sharks out there. A whole bunch of sharks that will take advantage of you, but people can see that people are genuine and they're truly doing this to help you and not just put money. You essentially make money by doing that, right?
Exactly. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I would say that if ever I can have a nonprofit, I'd love to go to like high schools and teach like a day or two of like credit and understanding borrowing money, because I think that people get in trouble very young because they want the next big thing, or they get offered a credit card and all of a sudden they've got $1,000 bill. They're like, well, I'm never paying this off. You know, a lot of it's education that doesn't happen at the younger years.
Yeah. Well, you and Tony, you know, you have created something great, and I see it, and I see how that is passing on to your two young boys, and we know it's not easy, right? I mean, it's not easy to navigate the.
It's not. Yeah. I really think it's about confidence, for sure. When you're not an entrepreneur, it's about confidence. It's about being resilient, for sure. And knowing that it's not just going to happen because you wish it, right? Too many people think, I'm going to do this. Yeah. Well, you need to back it up with some actual work, right? You can't just assume that things are going to be handed to you, you know? So,
Definitely. So, how do we find you?
What was that?
Find you.
Why? I don't know. You're cutting your tongue. Sorry.
How do we find you?
Oh, how do you find me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm right here. So you can find me. We've got a website, summithomeandlending.com. You can email me at Lucia, summithomeandlending.com. You can also text or call me, which people love to do, and I always respond. That's a nice thing too. I like to respond. If it's the weekend or the evening, I will respond because I recognize that people have different schedules, and you know, I don't want them to have to wait. So my cell phone number is 951-217-9533. And I'm always happy to be a resource. I talk to plenty of people that I'm not necessarily helping them with a loan or whatnot, but they have questions, you know, questions about buying, questions about credit, anything in that realm. I'm happy to help. And sometimes there's things that I'm not sure about that, or they're talking about living trust. I talk to people all the time about that. I don't do them, but I know they're important. Give you some information about that. So I'm a good resource.
Okay. So give us 3 actions that we can take as entrepreneurs, home buyers, just 3 actions that we can take to start moving in the right direction.
Okay.
And then anything you have in course.
Okay. So I'll give you 3. One as far as credit goes, one as far as mortgage goes, and one as far as entrepreneurship goes. Okay. The first one, credit-wise, everyone always knows their credit score. If you do not find out, you can get a free credit report on annualcreditreport.com once a year from all 3 bureaus. They won't give you your score unless you pay for it, but at least you can see your history and see what's ever reported. So that is important. And I do that too. I have to pull those all the time. I don't pull them. I'll have them pull it. I'll send it to me, and I go over line by line. So if it's hard to understand, I'm happy to do it. Whether I'm doing it or not, just because I think it's important to know. Okay. Number 2, as far as mortgages go, if you have a mortgage, you should be looking at your rate every 6 months at least. Because, and even if you do not compare yours with your neighbors, with your brothers, with your sisters, and let me tell you, people do that all the time. I got a 4%, I got a 3%, well, guess what? It's all depends on your FICO score, your equity, your debt. There's so many things that it depends on. So you cannot compare like when they're completely different. So make sure that someone is always looking at your mortgage and say, hey, people text me the mortgage, hey, am I good right now or not? Yeah. And I'll quickly say, what's your credit score? And then that's it. I can tell you if you should do anything or stay put. I've told many people to stay put, okay? The third thing I will say about entrepreneurship is this. If you have always felt the need to do something for yourself, okay? And I've always just thought of it that way. And I've never tried it. You owe it to yourself to talk to other entrepreneurs. Okay? Watch videos, YouTube, watch this podcast. There's plenty of content out there to help guide you as to if it makes sense for you. I tell you what, if you have even thought of maybe I'd like to, you probably have an inkling of entrepreneurship. If you've got an interest, then you really should. You owe it to yourself, because I always tell people you want to love what you do, and it's very hard to find something like I love. Being a mortgage. I love being able to work in my home office, taking my kids to school, being part of the school. That's something that we built together where we could do that. you know. But again, maybe sales jobs is why so it's funny, both of us have had a sales experience. Is that resiliency where it's like, oh, you got to keep going, because you get so many no's. And I think I guarantee you, a lot of entrepreneurs have been sales because they know what it's like.
Yeah.
So I will say, educate yourself and surround yourself by people who understand that. Because even Tony and I, certain friends are business owners, and then all these other friends we still love and care about, that it's just different when we talk to them.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because you need to surround yourself with, they're all still positive people, and just look at life in a different way, So we want to make sure that you identify with people in many different ways, but when you identify with other entrepreneurs that go through the same sort of thing, but just differently, it's important to have that support, because on your own, too many people like to do things on their own.
Doesn't work out.
That's hard.
Doesn't work out.
Yeah.
All right, so I have 1 on credit. Know your credit score. Know your credit. 2, mortgage. Look at your mortgage every 6 months.
Yes.
Compare where you are to where you're at. 3 is that if you have any thought or feeling about being an entrepreneur, connect with other entrepreneurs. Right.
Absolutely.
So, anything for us in closing?
Well, I want to thank you for allowing me to be on your podcast. It's fun to be able to, like I said, to be able to see somebody else and to talk about something that I'm very passionate about, and to just share my story. So I'm here as a resource to help people. I think that's what drives me, and anything I do in my life is about what can I do for other people to help. So
well, thank you very much for blessing us with your time. So you guys, this is a very, very podcast. Information is king, and if you have the tools in your form, you can do anything. So whatever you do, keep moving forward and keep being resilient, as Lucia said. We'll talk to you next time. Have a great day. Bye.